From winning in a controversial manner to admitting his own mistakes, I think it's safe to say Paddy the Baddy has come to terms with the criticism. Here's what he had to say, which, by the way, was very unlike him. In response to Joe Rogan and Nate Diaz's previous criticism regarding his win over Jared Gordon, the Scouse said that he still believed he was the rightful winner. So back in December, Pimblett increased his UFC record to 4-0, but to literally everyone else, Paddy struggled against Gordon, and for the first time in his UFC career, he had to rely on the judges, who gave him a super controversial win. And it was when he started flexing his victory, fight observers and fans vented their displeasure on social media. Pimblett still believes he won the fight a few months later.
Know what I mean? I've got one. I took the third round off because I was like, I've won the first two, my ankle's very sore.
But he has come to terms with the fact that it was much closer than he first thought.
You know what I mean? Even though that third round, he just held me against the cage. Then first two rounds, I come out and started to finish him, and I think I nearly did finish him at the end of the second.
He said what he has been ever since the fight, but this time adding the "it was much closer than I thought" part. From saying he had won every round to now saying he won two.
He easily won the first two rounds, and I think he only won the third round because he held me. As someone's just told me, he landed one significant strike in the third round.
I think you don't realize, but it's a big thing considering how highly Pimblett thinks of himself. But the thing where he became a favorite again was when he said he would run it again if that's what it takes to prove himself. So anyway, whether that happens or not, let's take a look back at UFC 282. You already know it was a 29-28 win for the Liverpool native. What's shocking was the UFC president's reaction. People slammed the way Dana White responded oddly to Paddy Pimblett's contentious points victory against Jared Gordon. Fans are pretty sure that the UFC president's expressions demonstrated that there are way too many dodgy things at play in MMA. Have you watched the clip? It was very suspicious if you actually connected the dots. Fans didn't spare a moment to criticize Dana White for his response right before the winner was announced, as Paddy the Baddy took a step up in difficulty versus Gordon, even though it was only his fourth fight in the UFC. Not only the fans, but even many commentators thought he was outperformed in the fight.
We're looking at
We're
each
both
other.
looking at each other. I said to you right
Yeah.
before, I go, he got it. I go, Jared got him.
Yeah.
And we both agreed.
But the three judges clearly thought otherwise and awarded the Scouse a 29-28 victory. So now picture this. The guy who seemed to be losing won, and the boss gave his fellows a nod while sitting ringside. Not just that, he was kinda relieved. It's like Dana already knew the results, which according to fans takes the fun out of the sport. And when fans saw that, they aimed their weapons at Paddy too. Let's put it nicely, they had things to say. Some already had called it, saying that they knew it was in the bag, while others expressed their disappointment, saying that they can't even look at the octagon anymore. The disgust was really popping out as fans weren't holding back. One fan even said that Dana was doing all sorts of stuff to save Paddy, as he knew blood was going to be spilled in the ring. Another called the whole UFC a joke. And just for the sake of bringing it up, Pimblett's victory came shortly after the Liverpool native and White appeared together on a podcast, showcasing their connection. Enough of the fans, right? Fellow fighters pitched in, just like DC. Former UFC champion and commentator Daniel Cormier stated on his YouTube channel that he truly believed Paddy Pimblett had lost, and according to him, the third and the very first round both belonged to Gordon. He said that control of the octagon was being prioritized far less, especially when it came to the cage's side, and he wasn't sure why. But in the third round, when Gordon was clinching Paddy Pimblett, Jared Gordon didn't land many punches. This was also brought up by Pimblett himself, by the way. Even though there were just two serious strikes in the third round, Pimblett still scored more even after Gordon was able to press him pretty hard against the cage. Many predicted that this would be Paddy Pimblett's hardest test yet, and it surely was. Anyway, Pimblett is anticipated to make his comeback when the promotion returns to the O2 Arena in London, probably sometime in March. Let's see how that goes. Anyway, DC wasn't the only one. Other than Joe Rogan, none other than the legend Nate Diaz directly pointed out that the baddie's opponent looked like he was 145 pounds. Renato Moicano said that the hype was over, and honestly, even though I hate to say it, this might just be true. Terrence McKinney said he believed that Jared got that W and implied that he was sad as he won't get to face the Scouse anymore. Ben Askren tweeted even before the winner was announced, predicting that round 3 kinda sealed the deal, and that Gordon seemed to have had the upper hand. Many, like Brian Kelleher, Paul Felder, and Platinum Perry, as I said, many, weren't happy with the result. A few of them even mentioned that they've lost faith in the sport. On top of that, Triple C compared it to the O'Malley vs. Jan fight. After criticizing the baddie, Henry continued by stating that it displays partiality when such things occur frequently. It ruined the pleasure of the entire event the last time it happened, at UFC 280, with the Sean O'Malley and Peter Yan incident. Cejudo continued to insult the judges, declaring that he would bleach his hair blonde solely to grab the judges' attention. Ouch. Back then, Yan even went so far as to suggest that he could leave the UFC as a result. O'Malley, on the other hand, has mostly shied away from the topic and suggested that anyone who was unhappy with the result could appeal to the courts. Matt Brown also added his reaction to the table, and oh boy did he have a lot of things to say. He started by talking about how he knew that one way or another, Paddy was going to be the one coming out with a win in the bout, and after seeing what happened, he said that it wasn't the least bit shocking to him. So Matt Brown went ahead and talked about how Paddy needed to go back to the drawing board and reevaluate himself. He believed that there are a lot of things lacking in Pimblett's game, and that he needed to address those problems immediately. He even talked about Pimblett having to head back to Cage Warriors again and starting from the bottom. According to him, while he's in the big leagues right now, Paddy's skill set just isn't what it takes to stay afloat in a situation such as his. So it wouldn't exactly be good for business if their star man suddenly started losing almost every fight he steps into the octagon for. Not gonna lie, I feel like Brown was onto something. Hopping back to the comments that hurt Paddy the most, Joe Rogan, who said that the Englishman should have suffered his first octagon defeat.
That didn't make any sense. I thought it was 2-1.
And then I'm rewatching it. I'm like, I'll go back and I rewatch it, and I'm sitting there like, I still give it to Jared.
Who could tell better than the guy who was literally there, commentating on the fight?
Yeah, man, there's some bad judging, right? There's some of those fights where like, what in the are you guys watching?
Rogan was seen rolling his eyes after the decision and subsequently revealed his opinion. Our fave podcaster stated that Jared was done dirty, and it was sad seeing that Paddy won just because of his height. Okay.
Just because they're famous and they have this big personality and everybody loves them. The problem with that is people are going to be rooting against him now in the next fight.
So the issue with that is that there's still a big fan base that will be cheering against him in the subsequent bout. Paddy will have to face someone who may be a fighter of a higher caliber.
And maybe he's going to go in against someone who's on another level, like one more level up, and he's going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Man has been beefing with Logan Paul. Maybe that would turn the tide in his favor. Anyway.
Because a couple of months ago, he messaged me calling me a clout chaser. And who's the clout chaser now, son?
That was all from Paddy coming to terms with the UFC 282 reactions.
I want to dedicate this fight to little baby Lee, little warrior.
Ladies and gentlemen, Paddy the Body Pimblett. Declaring the winner by submission, Paddy the Pimblett.
I really respect Jared as a human being, know what I mean? And as a fighter, I do. He's a great man. He's an inspirational person.